What's happening, gamers? Welcome to another exciting episode of Gamers Theory 101. I'm Gamers Theory 101, your host. Boom. We're going to talk about a little bit of preparedness stuff. And, going back, this is a video that I wanted to do for a while, but, everything got messed up with regards to Fallout being updated and also had a lot going on in my personal life. But, moving on. So, on the subject of preparedness, a sentiment that I see being espoused by a lot of the prepping community is that the already poor and or homeless population will fare a lot better in the slowly declining dystopian hellscape we're descending into, and or New World Order or / apocalypse shit hitting the fan. And I wanted to address some of that from the point of view of somebody who doesn't really have a lot. And more importantly, I've experienced homelessness. I was homeless for like 2 years. Like 2018 to 2020. And what this is, basically, is a fairly decent mock-up of the kind of shit shack I lived in the woods. Yeah. Because I wasn't about to go to the shelter, and I still had a lot of my stuff, even though I didn't have a fucking house anymore. My house was condemned with mold. And, so, with, like, several, like, tents and wood and just random stuff gathered over time, I built basically like these two shacks, basically just like this, next to each other. This one started off as like a Ozark tent, and you just add more tarps and layers of material to it until eventually you've gotten this, something that you would no longer refer to as a tent, basically. But in a survival situation, I feel like a tent is a good place to start, and you can add a lot. It's a weatherproof weathering layer, and you can essentially build a stronger structure around that. And in real life, I actually cut a hole in the side of this because I knew about cabin fever and stuff, and I'm a crazy person. So I stayed in this shit over the winter. Once again, fuck the shelter. But I cut a hole in the side of this thing, and with Gorilla Glue and duct tape, made a window out of a piece of plastic, and that was a wild, trippy vibe to be. I had an actual bed. Well, I had a cot in here. Now just imagine like you're in the woods with me and I'm giving you the tour. I had a cot in here, some storage, got the window, had a little table with a fucking radio on it, and a chair, and outside of it was like this sort of a deck area. Basically, there was a small canyon. This is in the woods where I had a childhood fort growing up, in my neighborhood, and there's like a canyon that goes down to a stream that you would stand on the edge, basically, big ass fire pit, and you'd look down this hill basically into the stream. I'm doing a lot of unnecessary hand gestures that nobody can see right now, as I'm talking with my hands. But and so in the next, like, these were separate, like, and I had like a awning hanging over it. I had a couch out here set up just like this, and we went over to the next one. The next one was this big ass motherfucking Aladdin tent, is what it started off as. Like, just imagine an Aladdin tent. This thing was huge. It was, you know, to scale with, like, this dude walking around in here, it was basically this big. It actually had some, like, right here would have been expanded out a little bit more, like a foot or two, because there was, I guess this thing was meant to be connected to other tents or some shit, because it had, like, this kind of airlock, almost like system of doors on either side of it. Anyway, this fucking thing was massive as shit, and I had equally massive tarps and stuff wrapping this thing up like a cocoon. And yeah, I actually did have a full bed in it, and another couch. Had one of my friends at the time sleeping on the couch. And yeah, a 4,000 watt Generac generator plugged into my TV and my video game console. I still had my 360. And you know, that maintained like the sanity, my sanity going through all of that shit, because like at the end of the day of fucking, you know, hustling and getting whatever food and bud, because I'm just a pothead, together, fucking like coming back to something that basically looked like this, and just, you know. And so now when the prepping community talks about like the resilience of the homeless or already real poor people, what they're not taking, they're addressing, you know, how used those people are to not having a lot, but they're missing the fact that like those people depend upon all those food pantries and shit, like you know, and food stamps. And so when the well-off people who donate to these things stop being able to donate because gas has gotten so expensive or whatever situation is contributing to them not having enough money to want to do it, then you see what I'm saying? So like those people may be used to having only a little bit, but they really need the little bit that they got, you know? And another thing to take into account is a whole entire difference. You know, me, I was really regimented and determined that, you know, I was going to get out of the situation that I was in, and I would look in the mirror once I was out of it and still recognize myself. Like, I'm like, you know, I'm not going to panic here and freak out. Like, alright, I'm homeless, but I'm going to get through this, and I'm fucking, you know, I'm not going to be destroyed by it. I'm going to still recognize myself, and I look exactly the same. So, mission accomplished. Better than George W. Bush could have. I survived. Just lost a bit of weight, but that's, you know, the point that I'm getting at is I was pretty regimented in my lifestyle during that time. Most of the people that you would say see in downtown Worcester who are homeless do not abide by that same principle, and if you end up with one of them as a running buddy, basically, like somebody, like, I mean, you're gonna have to, like, if they're not already in that mindset, you're gonna have to, like, drill that into their head that, no, we're not dicking around with all this other dumb bullshit, and once we've hit the food pantries, no, I'm not wandering around downtown after, you know, it's starting to get dark and cold, and I just want to frickin' sit down and rest, you know? Like, I'm not wasting all my calories and energy on frivolous pursuit of drugs. The reward centers of the brains of these people, what pulls them through their daily routine is their motivations are different, you know? The guy standing on the side of the road with a sign that says, you know, help, I need some money, can you give me food? Running out of time here. Already hit the 10-minute mark. But that guy's motivations, you know, and he's gonna buy drugs with it. That guy is totally different in his way of doing things and how he will react to this situation of society worsening than me and my regimented, you know, because, like, you know, to me as a pothead, the pot isn't very, it's not itself like all of it. You need the snacks and the video games and your recliner and the rest of it. Like, what is the fucking point? You see what I'm saying? Like, people who take hard drugs, like, what is the point of that if you're gonna be hungry and cold? And, like, what's the point of having bud if you're not gonna be enjoying yourself after you smoke it? What's the point of, like, spending 6 hours to get a portion of drugs that you're gonna do in a couple of hours or less? And so that's all I'm saying. Like, you know, there is resilience there, but it's not entirely accurately described by the prepping community, and I just thought that needed to be addressed. Tune in for the next episode of Gamers Theory 101. Hope some of the prepper-minded people end up watching this video. Peace.